Have you ever been in a conversation, leaned in a little too close, and saw the other person take a subtle step back? Or maybe you've caught a whiff of something unpleasant and realized with a sinking feeling that it's coming from you. And we aren't talking about morning breath or the smell of garlic after a heavy lunch. We are talking about a very specific, very distressing odor that smells distinctively like feces. If this has happened to you, listen closely. You are not alone, and this video is exactly where you need to be. I understand just how uncomfortable, embarrassing, and isolating this can be. It affects more than just your self-esteem. It affects your social interactions, your relationships, and your intimacy. You might feel dirty or worry that something is terribly wrong inside you. But here is the good news. This is chemistry, not a curse. Today, I have prepared 7 infallible, science-backed tips to resolve fecal breath once and for all. It is crucial, however, that you stay until the very end. To fix this, you need to understand the root cause so you don't misinterpret the solutions. We are going to break down the biology of your mouth and give you the tools to fix this problem for good. First, let's understand where this specific odor comes from. Why does breath sometimes smell like that? The smell is actually a result of decomposition. It comes from the release of volatile sulfur compounds, or VSCs. These are chemical substances produced by bacteria as they break down proteins in your mouth. We are talking about specific chemicals like Indole and Skatole. If those names sound scientific, here is the plain English translation. These are the exact same compounds found in human feces. That is why the smell is so recognizable and so distressing. Along with other compounds like putrescine and cadaverine, these gases are released during the breakdown of organic matter, like dead cells and food particles, and they exit through your mouth. Now, a common misconception is that this smell always comes from the stomach. You might think, I must have a serious gut issue. While it is true that systemic problems like reflux, gastritis, or even unmanaged diabetes can contribute to bad breath, scientific literature shows us that about 80 to 90% of halitosis cases originate right inside the mouth. Only about 10 to 20% are systemic. So, before you panic about your stomach, we need to address the oral environment. If we fix the ecosystem in your mouth, we usually eliminate the smell. So, having understood that, let's dive into the 7 steps to stop this chemical process. Tip number 1 is fundamental, yet almost everyone does it wrong. You must clean your tongue properly. Since we know that up to 90% of the problem is oral, the tongue is often the primary suspect. Why? Because of its anatomy. Your tongue isn't a smooth surface like a slide. It's more like a shag carpet. It is covered in tiny structures called microvilli. These microvilli act like a net. They trap leftover food particles, bacteria, and significantly, dead cells that your mouth sheds naturally. When this mixture accumulates, it forms a white or yellowish film on the back of your tongue, known as the subural coating, or biofilm. This biofilm is a feast for bacteria, and as they eat it, they release those sulfur gases, indole and skatole. Here is the mistake most people make. They try to clean their tongue with their toothbrush, or worse, the handle of a spoon. A toothbrush is designed to clean hard surfaces like enamel, not the soft carpet-like texture of the tongue. When you use a toothbrush, you often just move the sludge around rather than removing it, and the bristles can trigger a gag reflex before you reach the back, where the bacteria actually live. The solution is to use a dedicated tongue scraper. You can find simple plastic ones at any pharmacy, which are very affordable, or you can invest in a copper tongue scraper, which is naturally antibacterial and lasts much longer. A scraper is designed to physically lift and remove that biofilm effectively. It's flatter, so it doesn't trigger the gag reflex as easily, allowing you to clean the back third of the tongue where the worst odors originate. Make this a non-negotiable part of your morning routine. Tip number 2 is about lubrication. You need to drink significantly more water. This sounds like generic health advice, but in the context of bad breath, it is a mechanical necessity. Your saliva is the mouth's natural detergent. It is composed largely of water, along with enzymes that help digest food and control bacteria. If you are dehydrated, your saliva production drops. When your mouth becomes dry, you lose that natural washing mechanism. Saliva physically flushes away dead cells and food debris so they don't settle in the tonsils or on the tongue to rot. A dry mouth is a stagnant mouth, and a stagnant mouth begins to smell very quickly. Think of a stream of water versus a stagnant pond. The stream is fresh, the pond gets murky and smelly. You want your mouth to be a stream. By drinking plenty of water throughout the day, you stimulate saliva production and create a protective barrier against the accumulation of necrotic tissue. If you are constantly thirsty, your breath is likely already suffering. Tip number 3 concerns the spaces between your teeth. You are likely using floss incorrectly. We all know we should floss, but doing it quickly just to say you did it is almost as bad as not doing it at all. If you just pop the floss in and out between your teeth, you aren't removing the plaque, you're just annoying it. The bacteria that create these fecal odors are anaerobic, meaning they hate oxygen and love dark, tight spaces, like the pockets between your teeth and gums. To clean this effectively, you need to use the floss to hug the tooth. You slide it in, wrap it in a C shape around the side of one tooth, and gently slide it beneath the gum line until you feel resistance. Then you scrape down. Then, you have to do the same thing for the adjacent tooth in that same gap. And here is the critical error. People often skip the back molars. It's hard to reach back there, so they focus on the front teeth that people see. But the smell comes from the back, where food gets chewed and stuck. If you leave meat or fibrous food rotting between your back molars for 24 hours, it begins to decompose. That decomposition releases the exact gases we talked about earlier. You must be meticulous with flossing, ideally once a day before bed. Moving on to tip number 4, the incorrect use of the toothbrush. Just like with flossing, most people brush on autopilot. They scrub back and forth horizontally, they brush too hard, or they brush too fast. If you brush horizontally and aggressively, you might actually cause your gums to recede, exposing the tooth root and creating more spaces for food to get stuck. Plus, a quick 30-second scrub does not remove the sticky plaque that houses bacteria. You need to reserve at least one moment in your day, usually the evening is best when you have more time, to do a conscious, perfect brushing. The correct technique involves angling the bristles at 45 degrees toward the gum line. You want the bristles to gently sweep the area where the tooth meets the gum. Use small circular motions or a sweeping motion away from the gum. You must clean all 3 surfaces of the teeth: the vestibular side, the front, cheek side, the lingual side, the back, tongue side, and the occlusal surface, the biting top. If you rush the morning brush, that's understandable, but do not go to sleep with a dirty mouth. Bacteria thrive at night because saliva production drops while you sleep. If you leave fuel for them, you will wake up with terrible breath. Tip number 5 is about your diet, specifically the timing. Avoid eating sweets and carbohydrates in spaced out intervals. This is a very common habit. You're at work, you grab a chocolate at 10 a.m., then a sugary coffee at 2 p.m., then a cookie at 4 p.m. Every time you introduce sugar or simple carbs into your mouth, bacteria go into a feeding frenzy. As they process the sugar, they produce acid. This acid lowers the pH of your mouth, making it the perfect environment for bad bacteria to multiply and for bad breath to develop. If you are constantly snacking on sugars without brushing in between, your mouth stays in a state of acidity all day long. This doesn't just cause cavities, it promotes the growth of the bacteria that produce foul odors. The strategic move here is to consolidate. If you want dessert, eat it immediately after your main meal. Your saliva production is already high from the meal, which helps neutralize the acid. Then, brush your teeth. Don't let sugar sit on your teeth for hours while you sit at your desk. Tip number 6 addresses a specific physiological cause: tonsil stones or caseum. If you look into the back of your throat and see white or yellowish little balls lodged in the crevices of your tonsils, these are tonsil stones. These are essentially calcified nuggets of debris, mucus, food particles, and bacteria that have gotten trapped in the crypts of your tonsils. If you have ever coughed one up and crushed it, You know they smell absolutely horrific. It is a concentrated essence of sulfur and decay. If you have these, they are a major contributor to fecal breath. However, you must be careful. Do not start poking at your tonsils with sharp objects or your fingers, as you can cause infection or injury. The best way to manage these is through gargling. You can use warm salt water or specific non-alcoholic rinses to gently dislodge them. Keeping your mouth hydrated also prevents the debris from hardening in the first place. If they are severe and chronic, you might need to see a specialist. But for most people, improving oral hygiene and gargling will keep them at bay. Finally, tip number 7, which might surprise you. Avoid the heavy use of commercial mouthwashes. Marketing has convinced us that the only way to have fresh breath is to nuke our mouths with minty, alcohol-based liquids that burn. The problem is that many store-bought mouthwashes contain alcohol and strong chemicals that don't discriminate. They kill the bad bacteria, sure, but they also kill the good bacteria. Your mouth has a microbiome, a delicate balance of flora that keeps your oral ecosystem healthy. If you wipe out the good bacteria, you disrupt this balance. Furthermore, alcohol dries out the mouth. As we learned in tip number 2, a dry mouth is a smelly mouth. So you get a blast of mint for 20 minutes, but once that fades, your mouth is drier than before, and the bad breath returns with a vengeance because the natural protective enzymes are gone. Unless a dentist has prescribed a specific mouthwash for a specific period to treat an infection or gum disease, stick to mechanical cleaning. However, if you are looking for a way to actively restore that good bacteria and protect your teeth without harsh chemicals, you need to see this. There is a strange, new, red dental foam cleanse that is stunning dentists. Unlike mouthwash that nukes your mouth, this red foam targets the hidden bacterial biofilm, which is the real root cause of decay and that stubborn bad breath, and it helps remineralize your teeth overnight in just 10 seconds. I highly recommend you watch the short video presentation on this. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or click the link I have pinned in the top comment below to see exactly how this red foam works. It is genuinely a game changer for anyone wanting to reverse gum issues and stop decay. The toothbrush, the floss, and the tongue scraper are your tools. They physically remove the source of the smell without altering the chemical balance of your microbiome. If you must use a rinse, look for alcohol-free options or simple warm water and salt. If you follow these 7 tips diligently, you are addressing the 90% of causes that originate in the mouth. You are removing the fuel, food and dead cells. You are removing the mechanism, plaque and biofilm, and you are maintaining the environment, hydration. However, if you are doing all of these things perfectly, you are scraping your tongue, you are flossing correctly, you are hydrated, and the smell persists, then it is time to look at that other 10 to 20%. It could be a sign of a systemic issue that needs professional medical attention. But for the vast majority of you, the solution is right here in these habits. Halitosis is not a character flaw. It's just biology that needs management. Try these tips, stick with them for a few weeks, and you will notice a difference not just in your breath, but in your confidence.